Hi, my name is Neelam Call. I'm a career coach. I am the founder of Stressed in the City. We're a global careers coaching and training company. Today, I'm going to be speaking to you about general careers advice for STEM careers. So I just run through basically how you should choose a college or university, how you should choose a course. We'll talk about mock interviews and what should go into your CV and into your personal statements. So starting off with choosing a college and university, it's one of the big decisions that you will make, choosing the right institution for you. So one of the first things to do is basically, visit the university and attend open days. Obviously, at the moment with the pandemic, we can't really visit universities and colleges, but you can get an idea of what the university is like by going online, looking at the virtual open days, and sometimes you can even go for a walk or visit the area and have a look around to see, the feel of the location where the university is or where the college is. Another thing to bear in mind when choosing a college or university is to look at the tables. There's lots of tables, I think, from The Guardian, from The Times, The Independent. There's lots of other, tables and rankings. There's student satisfaction surveys, and there's a lot of information about teaching standards. So you can get a good idea of these things and see what meets your requirements and which universities rank highly in those things. Another factor to consider is whether it's a Russell Group university. A lot of the employers do want graduates, postgraduates from Russell Group universities. I think there's a list of 20 or 25. And if you look online, you can get a good idea of the main, 25 universities in the Russell Group. Also, when you're looking at a course, a college or a university, think, do they offer work placements? Do they offer apprenticeships? The university I went to offered a sandwich placement course. It was a thin sandwich system, which was 2 6-month placements in your second and third year of your degree. I know some universities offer 1-year placement, but that's something to consider because not all universities offer that. I know some offer placements abroad as well. Other universities offer apprenticeships within the degree or the course, so it's good to bear that in mind. Also look at your future career prospects and what the prospects are in terms of employment, in terms of further study, how many students go on straight into a career, into a role, how many do further studying, and generally what the statistics are like. So it's a good idea to do your research. Another thing to consider is the facilities of the college or the university. So look at the libraries, the lecture halls, the sports facilities, especially if you're quite sporty, to see if that college or university offers that. Again, I mentioned sports earlier on with the facilities, but look at any extracurricular opportunities that the college or university offer, because along with the studies, the extracurricular activities are important. So they may have some societies that are of interest to you, sports teams, and some other areas for you to explore your hobbies. And finally, one thing to consider is the university or college local? Is it local to you? Do you have to commute? Do you have to take a bus or train? Do you need a car? Is it based on a campus? So where you have a university, is it a campus that's contained in one part of the town or city, or is it spread out over a city? So these are some things to just consider and bear in mind when choosing a college or university. Moving on from that, choosing a course. When you're choosing a course, I think the most important thing is to look at subjects and pick subjects that you enjoy. The main reason for this is if you enjoy something, you would, you'll be motivated to do it and to be disciplined to study and put in those hours. So if you're studying a subject that you don't really enjoy, then chances are you'll make excuses not to study. You'll find it a bit of a chore, and you just wouldn't, doing that work and doing that studying wouldn't really light you up. So it's really important to pick subjects that you're naturally good at and subjects that you enjoy, because that's where you would need minimum motivation, because you'll always feel motivated to study and learn about it. Another thing to bear in mind when choosing a course is to use your strengths. If you're good at numbers, you're good at processes, you're good at procedures, go for, mathematics degree. If you know you're better at, more writing, if you're better at maybe analytical skills, go for subjects that are, that would use those skills. So look at your strengths, where do your skills lie, and choose your subjects that complement those skills. And that's, that will be the best, they will be the best courses and the best subjects for you. So it's worth reflecting and looking at, where do you get your top marks? Which subjects do you find easier? Which topics do you enjoy? Another thing to bear in mind when choosing a course is, do you want coursework to be, do you want the coursework to be a part of your course, or do you want it mainly exam based? Do you want it more lectures? It's a good idea to look at the different components of the course. And also work placements and study abroad. I know at the moment we can't really travel and study because of the pandemic, but by the time some of you get to college and university, you should be able to study abroad. Does your course have languages? Does it have work placements? Even at college, you can have some courses that make sure that you have some practical experience, and they fit that into the course where you have 1 or 2 weeks somewhere. And like I mentioned before, with universities, you can have sandwich placements where you spend a year abroad or a year in industry, where you either find your placement yourself or the university helps place you. Also choose a course that fits into your long-term career plans. So if you want to be a doctor, a dentist, a scientist, or you want to, work, I don't know, as a vet, make sure that you're taking those subjects that will complement your future career plans. Because if you're not taking certain subjects at college or certain subjects, in your GCSEs, then that could impact your future career choices, especially in medicine. So it's really, really good to bear in mind your long-term career plans. It can be confusing choosing a course and, knowing where your skills lie and what course you should pick. But there's plenty of tasters online. So you can go to a lot of the colleges and even universities. Look at the taster lessons online. It gives you an idea of what the subject involves. And you can also get taster lectures. Looking at personal statements, CVs and applications, I get asked a lot, what does a 16-year-old put on their CV because they have no work experience, or what would a 15-year-old put on a CV? What would an 18-year-old who's done no work experience put on the CV? And the purpose of this slide is to just give you some tips and some ideas of the kind of things that you can put onto your CV. So your CV should include obviously your personal details. So, your name, your address, your phone number, your email should include all those details, and your education, starting from your usually from your middle school and then your senior school where you're at now. Work experience if you've done some, and any volunteering. I know some people haven't had any work experience, and especially over the last year it's been very limited, but you can get work experience online, virtual work experience. And also, once we're out of the lockdown, you can probably do some volunteering, or if you've done some volunteering in the past, then that's something you can add on. If you have had no volunteering experience and you've had no work experience, then I would suggest looking at what your transferable skills are. And this is what you could put instead of the work experience and the volunteering. By transferable skills, I mean, what skills have you learned in your studies? What skills have you learned at school or college that you can use? So this could be communication skills, it could be writing skills, analytical skills, research skills, teamwork skills. Think of all the skills that you've used in school, in your hobbies, in your extracurricular activities, in your sports, in your subjects, and almost write them down, even package them into a few sentences or a few bullet points and put those things down onto your CV. So, saying you're an excellent communicator, you're good at teamwork, you're good at research, but try and back those up with examples. So I'm a good communicator because, I volunteer at my local community centre, or I'm a good researcher because as part of my biology, I had to research into this project. So really think about what transferable skills you have, because you all have them and everybody will have these transferable skills, and put them down on your CV. You can put them in addition to your work experience or volunteering, or if you don't have any work experience, like I said, you can just list them. And then towards the end, you can talk about your sports and hobbies. What do you like doing in your spare time? And then obviously put your references down. And this could be, you know, teacher, your college, and it could be a personal reference. I suggest doing one school academic reference and then one other personal reference, but that could also be from your, you know, Saturday football team or netball team, or it could be a family friend. So try and put 2 references down. Looking at personal statements for universities, it doesn't really include much of the above. The only thing a personal statement would include would be the transferable skills, the work experience, and the sports and hobbies, because the other parts, your personal details, your education, your references, will all be on the other part of the UCAS form. So with the personal statement, the idea of a personal statement is to give the universities that you're applying for a good idea of why you want to study that course at that particular university. So, you know, why do you want to study maths or history or economics or, you know, biology, or, you know, why do you want to study these topics, you know, this subject and all the topics, and why do you want to spend 3 years studying this? So your personal statement really has to show your passion for the subject and your ambitions of what you want to do with that degree or that course. So firstly, you know, why you're passionate, why you want to study that subject, and what you intend to do once you have studied that. So, you know, put down all the things that excite you about that topic, you know, what interests you, what really appeals to you about that subject. Also talk about any projects that you've been involved in, any books you've read that reinforce your passion, reinforce your interest in that subject, so that the applications staff can see that this person is really interested in economics, for example, because they have been, you know, reading all the books, or this person is really interested in engineering because they read all the journals, you know, all the industry news. They really have kept abreast of all the developments in the engineering industry, and also illustrate all the projects and all the work that you've done, whether it's at school or outside school. Put that down on your personal statement. So the whole idea of the personal statement is to stand out, because the universities receive so many applicants that, you know, you need to stand out and they need to see why you're suitable. Why should they give one of their places to you? So with the personal statement, put all these things down. You'll probably have to change it a few times, show it to your teachers, your tutors, or any, you know, get as many people to proofread it and keep improving it. You would probably change it 3 or 4 or 5 times before you're happy with the version, and then you can send it off. Mock interviews. So around college time, you know, university time, it's the first time you'll probably go for mock interviews. I mean, some of you may have Saturday jobs and you've already had some interviews, but the idea of a mock interview is to really get you in front of someone so that you can practice what it's like to be interviewed, because interviews can be daunting. And while you may have a really good application, and, you know, you may have a good personal statement, you may have a really good CV, but really when you're there in front of someone, it's really important that you come across in the best light and you showcase your skills and your abilities to that person in the best light that you can, because you will probably only have 20 minutes or, you know, half an hour to make that impression. So it's really important to spend time and effort into having mock interviews, setting up mock interviews, just so that you can practice these skills. So when you have an actual interview, you can then, you know, be less stressed out, and, you know, it would be a comfortable, easy, straightforward process. So the main idea for a mock interview is to help your preparation, to reduce the stress of the actual interview. A good idea with the mock interviews is to start practicing competency questions. Competency questions are questions that are designed to test your, you know, abilities, to see how you deal with things. So a typical competency question is, you know, give me a time when you had to face a challenge. How did you overcome that challenge and what did you learn? Or another competency question is, give me an example of when you worked in a team. What did you find most difficult working in a team? Or what was it about your contribution to the team that made the team a success? So questions where they're really trying to get you to storytell, and if they're really trying to get you to give them an answer that can demonstrate that you have the skills they are looking for that job or for that course or for whatever you're applying for. So the idea of practicing the competency questions is so that you get really, really used to them, and also so that you can articulate your answers. And by that, I mean, you can say your answers in a very clear way so the other person understands them. So you're not muddled, you're not confused about your answer, or you're not really answering the question they are asking. So the idea of articulating your answer is through practice, you can easily, effortlessly say the answer and it will flow to the other person. Looking at all the application forms that I come across and all the different people I help with their applications, it's the same competency questions that come up again and again and again. So it's really quite easy to prepare for them. So usually you have the competency questions and then you write it in your form. You'll get a long form where you have to answer these questions, and then usually at the interview you have to talk about what you've written down and talk about these competency questions. So writing it down can be an easier part, but then you have to be able to talk about what you've written and to make sure that both match, and like I said, you come across in the best possible light. So look at model answers. There's lots of information online where you can look at model answers. Another tip I have with the mock interviews is to really research the organisation that you're applying to. So a few universities have mock interviews. Most don't do mock interviews, but definitely for jobs, companies, whether government organisations or corporate organisations, you very rarely you would have go for a job where they would not interview you. So it's really, really important to research the organisation that you're applying to. So, find out what the organisation does, what are their values, what have they been in the news for, how big the organisation is, what they do, what's their purpose, where they are in the market. Look at all these things, and you can find all that easily by doing a Google search. Another tip I have, which I think is quite important, is if you know who your interviewer is, you can always research your interviewer. You can look them up online, you can look them up on LinkedIn, and just see, what they're involved in, just so that you've got a bit of background information on your interviewer. So research the organisation and research your interviewer. And if you may not know who your interviewer is, at least, research that department, the department that you're looking to apply to. And these days with social media, it's really easy to get a good feel of an organisation before you actually physically enter the door and sit an interview. Also, look at, there's lots of articles on interviewing, there's lots of courses online, there's lots of tips online, and I would say create a LinkedIn profile, especially if you're at college. You should really be looking to put a basic LinkedIn profile on there, just with almost everything you'd put on your CV on there, and start following some of these organisations and companies and groups that are of interest to you. And it just gives the interviewer or the company something where they can see who you are. And it's a good idea to have a photo on LinkedIn as well, because I've noticed increasingly over the last few years, companies are using LinkedIn more and more, and the sooner you get onto LinkedIn, the sooner you get to follow companies, to read read what's happening in your industry. It gives you a really, really good idea, and it's a really good networking platform. So I really suggest being on LinkedIn, especially when you start doing interviews and making applications. And the final thing that I would like to add is there's you have your CV, your personal statement, you have your mock interviews, but I think even before you get to the stage of applying for jobs or roles, when there are so many employability skills, there are so many soft skills that you can be focusing on. Some of these you've already acquired as part of your transferable skills, and I do encourage you to step back and spend 5 minutes thinking about all your subjects. What soft skills have you learned? Because these soft skills are really, really important when it comes to being employable. The more employable you are, the more opportunities will come your way. So firstly, you have the technical skills. Of course, you need the technical skills to be employable. So this could be, your IT skills. It could be technical skills in your subject area. Then you have the soft skills, the communicating, the empathy, the whole being able to work with other people. So you have all these skills that are really, really important, all the interpersonal skills. Then there's also other creative skills, such as, what's stopping you writing a blog or doing some kind of like small short article and posting it somewhere. So getting used to writing things and being creative. I'm not talking about writing a big book, but just writing a small blog or a few sentences. And LinkedIn, again, is a really good platform that you could do that on. But I'm sure you have blogs at school and at college that you could contribute to, almost like a newsletter where you can showcase and talk about something, or talk about something your school's doing. Personal branding, again, I'd like to introduce this to you as a concept, because as you later on in 5 years time, 10 years time, go into your careers, personal branding is really important. So this is like, think about, if you had a website, what would it be called? What kind of, how would you stand out from everyone else? So with me, for example, I'm Neelam Call and I have Stress in the City. But there's certain things that are associated with my brand. So people who work with me and know me know that, for example, that I'm a speaker, or I'm a STEM ambassador, or I've worked in finance, and or I work with universities. So there's certain things that are associated with your name and your brand. So it's really, really important to think about your branding. And the easiest way to do this is by setting yourself apart from everyone else. And again, this is through, having a voice, through speaking, through writing, and through differentiating yourself. So think about personal branding, or maybe even Google it, after this session, so that you can get a good idea of what personal branding is, because it does start at college and university. And also, along with the personal branding, your social media profile really helps with your personal branding. So it's a good idea to use social media, not just for your own profile and to become visible, but also for following, like I said, other organizations, and to use it as a knowledge base. So use social media, not just to connect with friends and family, but to use it as like a knowledge platform. There's loads of things on Twitter, Instagram, loads of inspirational things, lots of career tips, lots of tips on even, how you create a personal brand, how you start writing blogs as a student, loads of things on soft skills and technical skills. So it's really, really important to, use social media where you can to help you with your forthcoming careers. So good luck with all that. I hope you found this helpful, and thank you very much.